Hey Sages, and welcome to your March 2018 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead. And wow, I really love what I'm seeing coming forward for you guys. Some of the energy was still feeling a bit chaotic to me, but when I saw your spread, I was suddenly overtaken by a lot of joy and a lot of confidence for what's coming forward. So much brightness, so much incredible major arcana activation. You sort of have a lot of windfall luck and transformation energy coming in, while at the same time still kind of unsure and pensive energy as well. It's really beautiful though. I feel that Sag is kind of in a weird experience of reality, or in an unexpected experience of reality. It feels like timing is not quite calibrated, and some of you might feel like you don't know where time has gone. Some of you might feel like, where am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here still? There's a sense of why am I still here? Why am I still at this place for so long? But let me tell you, Sagittarius, something comes through in March that answers that question for you and opens a new portal. Even if you can't directly in March leave whatever it is that you are kind of not liking anymore, you know the answer and how to do it here. This month is incredibly important and incredibly potent and powerful for you. And I feel that there has to be something real established for Sag in March, something that you need to strive for, or something that you can work towards, because there are a lot of potentials I feel in this spread and in this energy line that I'm feeling coming from Sag to really fall, to really come into tower experiences if there's nothing being strived for, or if there's nothing at the end game. I do sense that a lot of Sages are having to maintain situations which are not nice, or not really what you want your experience to be, for the sake of better futures or for the sake of getting somewhere. It feels like if you weren't striving for something, you would already have sort of distanced yourself from the environment that you're in. But I feel that this creates a new magic type of portal experience for you, Sag, where you have to know when the time to go is. And this might sound a little bit strange, this might sound a little bit unput together, but it will come together, I promise. I feel that a lot of you are coming into this time with a huge blessing and a huge curse, or at least what you consider to be these things. And I feel that you're almost having like this Libra experience where you're trying to like balance out, okay, do I capitalize on the blessing, or do I try to evade the curse? I sense that Sag feels like it has to choose something, or has to make a decision. It's definitely energy of crossroads with the Lovers and the World there. And also the energy innately of options as well. I feel that Sag has had a lot of options for a long time. That's a lot of what Saturn and Sagittarius was about for you, was about having so many options, and like how you deal with so many open doors, and do you stagnate or do you choose? I sense a recreation of this slightly in March, and it makes perfect sense because this will be the first equinox activation that you get, Sag, without Saturn there since about 2015. Basically, there's a really strong need for you to be able to come forward in about March 21st when equinox starts to happen, and be able to leave behind the trauma that's happened to you in 2016 and 2017. It's really important for Sag to not need to take a lot of this with you. I think that's interesting that you have the major arcana activation of the Lovers in the World in the second week of March before equinox comes in, and then you have 3 of Wands and 3 of Cups in the third week, like a very minor arcana, very small, kind of just micro experiences that aren't big. It's like I sense this extreme, empowering, potent experience of release happening in the second week for you, where you then kind of wake up, kind of go into the full, I sense like the Fool energy as well in the third week. And I sense a much smoother experience of navigating the micro and macrocosmic experiences of your life. And that's complicated, but ultimately, Sag, you might feel like you're having to make a sacrifice in March, but this sacrifice, you know, coming in from that death archetype, puts the world into your hands, fuels the windfall to come. It's not a month where we need to be too complicated or too in-depth about the very small intrinsic elements of our psyches and our spiritual ascensions and experiences. For that reason, I'm probably going to keep your reading kind of short, but I will just say what I feel needs to come in. And that is basically that take what you're given this month, find your advantages, have a moment of hindsight, preferably in like the second week of March, and see where that trauma is, see where that difficulty is in that second week, and really be able to have this moment with it and let it go, move forward, let the sacrifice come in, whatever is associated that keeps you tied into your experience of Saturn in Sag, sort of be able to come out of it and be able to start over in some kind of way, even if you're still connected to Saturn and Sag location and Saturn and Sag people, okay? That's the thing. With Sag, sometimes you need like a very grandiose change or a very grandiose shift in reality to really click that things have actually changed. That may not quite be here yet. For some of you it is. I feel this is quite split down a lot of Sagittarius people. Some of you may be making the big move in March. Some of you may be making life changes that feel like overwhelming and exuberant, but I also feel that some of you are waiting till about June or July, or even later 2018. So really try to strive for that and really try to remember what you're working towards in this month if things aren't just like changing all of a sudden. Anyway, Sagittarius, I'm going to get into the week to week so I can bring in more specifically how you can navigate this extremely important time for you. In week number 1, Sagittarius, you have 8 of Wands rooted down by 2 of Wands reversed. Planning an incredible vacation could be good here. Something needs to feel like you're treating yourself or rewarding yourself. And again, with these like first 2 weeks of March before we get into equinox, this is not like the easiest thing, but it's also kind of like when you're having a really bad flu or a really bad sickness and you know that it's about to end though, like you've gone through the worst part of it. Like I feel that to be like your Saturn and Sag time, but you still know that this last little bit is like here and hanging on. You know though, coming into this first week of March that this can't last much longer. And I also feel that you start to get gifts here as well from the universe. So maybe a lot of you are rewarding yourself by investing in your utility or investing in what makes you functionable as a person. So I sense like new wardrobe, new appearances, new technology, or new cars, anything. I feel that if you have like the financial abundance, you should reward yourself here. And maybe throughout all of February, you've sort of been having an abundance, getting like new things, having a lot of turnover. It is important to start the process of turnover here in the first week of March for sure for Sag, because you should get some kind of reward. And some of you might have gotten that more towards like the December period of time when Saturn left Sag, but there's still like the reaping process. Since we're in that period, we're in that time before equinox, we're still in the 2017 year cycle before we get back into Aries time, before the zodiacal new year comes in. The only issue I feel in this week for Sag is a potential of feeling like you're not in control of your life, or feeling a lack of control, because 2 of Wands is all about having the world in your hands, all about being able to make and instill decisions that affect your own life. And when that's reversed, sometimes it can feel like autonomy is lacking. Sometimes it can feel like you can't really like fly out of the nest. So I would spend a bit of time here really thinking about what inhibits your autonomy as a person. What takes control away from me? Who in my life is stopping me from being able to achieve my goals? How have I made the decision to be here? Try to not blame others, but at the same time, realistically see what is keeping you out of the driver's seat of your life. What is keeping the world out of your hands is very good to understand here. In the second week for Sagittarius, the Lovers rooted down by the World reversed. Very much the most empowering week of your month. Also probably the most strong, activated, potent week of your year, maybe even your last 10 years for some of you. The World has been coming up for a lot of people though, and it makes sense. We all collectively have so much to purge, or we have so much to let go of, so many cycles that need to end, so many ways of being which have outworn their use to us. And the World is all about the most grand, most final ending, more so even than the death archetype. Like obviously, as you guys can see from your reading, death is only number 13 in the major arcana, and the World is obviously number 21. It is even much grander of an ending than death. So take time here to understand what needs that type of grand ending in your life. What relationships, careers, family experiences, or even just cycles of speaking to yourself, like self-dialogue. What has really caused more harm than you realize that you can suddenly see here? Because that's like a big thing of this week, I think, too, with just that like bright sunlight energy of the Lovers too. It can show you very suddenly where something didn't work out, or where something may have been functioning at a very passive, unrealized, unseen, negative way in your life, suddenly you wake up to that this week, Sagittarius. You wake up to this unseen cycle of yourself in the second week of March. And I feel like what you see there can either like scare you into trying to conceal it desperately, or can have this effect on you where you basically sit with it, see it, and find your power there. So it feels to me to be up to Sag and to move into the third week of March with something that, you know, overcomes people who have turned their back on you, or overcomes people whose love or loyalty is tied into the wrong places. You know, Three of Wands and Three of Cups. I feel like this can be so wonderful for you, or it can also sort of be your undoing as well, depending on how you've overcome the second week. So Three of Wands, I sense that a lot of Sages have incredible, beautiful things on the horizon. And this is sort of one of the things that was making me feel like, okay, we're not quite there yet, but it's sort of in the process of coming. I think that Sag has been in Three of Wands mode for a very long time now. I hope that you've been able to have the moment where you allow yourself to put something on the horizon. That's first and foremost. And then after that, I hope that you can actually start to navigate that way, because I think that a lot of Sag people are stuck in this place of like establishing the horizon and looking towards it versus actually moving towards it. And I think that this is going to be the perfect time to finally find a plan or start to outline the way that you start to move towards your goal. And basically, Sag, as long as you've been able to kind of release your Saturn period and been able to release the trauma and crisis structures from that time, you can kind of really start over here in the third week of March. This is equinox time. You can kind of start to see life from like the perspective of like a young child, or from the perspective of somebody who is experiencing life in a different way. And that will be most magical. It would be a wonderful time to like plan a vacation, to plan your next step. I sense very strategic energy coming in. Or at the same time, to just be able to take in your environment as if it were not what it used to be. Especially for those of you who've been able to have the move, or who have been able to change up your circumstances or change your surroundings. I sense that Sagittarius is really thriving by exploring or by seeing something that's new, whether it actually be new or whether it be from like a new lens. Either the lens has to change or the environment has to change. I sense for Sag to start thriving in the third week. That is rooted down by Three of Cups. Wonderful, beautiful energy. Try to surround yourself with friends, or even allow yourself to start making new friends here. It feels like new platonic connections are very magical for Sag. It also feels like there will be new relationship possibilities as well, through, again, being able to release the relationship trauma, because Sag to me is one of the more relationship traumatized signs right now. But it should ultimately be closing out in the third week of March. Again, equinox, letting go, but this process can last a little while. You guys move into the fourth week with Knight of Pentacles reversed, rooted down by death. So this person who overshadowed you for a long time, it can go a few different ways. For those of you who had the really difficult breakup, for those of you who had the really hard disconnect, that leaves here. That leaves in the fourth week of March, and you're really going to come face to face with what part of you might have been preserving the trauma and chaos for motivation, and what part of you desperately needed to release it. And you're going to kind of see both of these aspects of your personality, of your persona, you know, the lover's energy, and then you're going to have to ultimately come into the place of power over your own life and see which really gets you further, you know. Do you need to prioritize this chaotic relationship in order to thrive, in order to like give yourself difficult trauma and have something to rise from? Or can you start to structure new cycles of persona, or new cycles of accomplishment and motivation, where you no longer need trauma or chaos to instill a sense of purpose within you? Because you're coming there, Sag. We all are, but you are at the forefront of purpose right now. You are developing that for yourself and for humanity. Saturn has just passed you, so there's that weight off. What can you take from that time that gives you purpose, and how can you integrate these new surroundings coming in to thrive in a way that you never have before? Lots of relationship changes. Not a terrible time to be single, honestly, for Sag. For those of you who are in like relationships though and have been coupled for a while, try to understand the multiple faces of your relationship, I want to say. Even for Sages who are single right now, really try to go back to relationships of the past and find the different faces, find the different ways of thriving within that, and then also the like really negative impacts that there are too, and like kind of like assign them faces or assign them some kind of label or value that helps you to understand how you interacted, to understand the symbiotic nature of what that was, and how like you invested, how the other person invested. I think that Sagittarius can gain a lot by categorizing relationship experiences and learning from those experiences to ultimately, and this is where it gets kind of tricky, sacrifice that, or to ultimately leave that behind and no longer need it. With the Death card there, that's your kind of most forward motion card this month, is the Death card, Sag. So the Death and the world, whenever the Death and the world are together, and don't let me project for you guys, but that, as a reader, if I were to ever predict like actual death around you, I usually look for the world to come up with the Death card too. Not of you, Sag, not even necessarily of the people around you, but there can just be like really strong endings here. So breakups, getting fired from your career, choosing to stop something, choosing to leave a location. And if someone's been like terribly ill and you know that they could like die or something, things like that can happen too. But I hate to say things like that to such a wide audience, but the Death and the world together do sometimes indicate that to me, but I don't feel that it's within Sag at all, so don't worry about yourself. But do understand that this is a very severe energy around you, and that things struggle to thrive, but through this you know how to motivate, thrive, and purpose into the oncoming time period. Your central theme, Sag, is Knight of Swords reversed, and it's, I think, the perfect central theme for you to have. Don't feel like things have to happen too quickly. Sag can be very instant gratification oriented, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter will be in your sign at the end of this year, so it's like getting there. You're feeling like, okay, I'm feeling all this wonderful, exciting, ecstatic energy for me to like rise and be optimistic and expand everything in my life. You don't have to do it by like April 1st. You know, it doesn't have to happen quite yet. In fact, Knight of Swords can say that by getting too quick here, by trying to force things too quickly, we can be taking away from what it could be in the future. So really balance out your timeline, really balance out what the end game is, where the ambition is, what we're trying to get to thrive the most, while at the same time, you know, keep a pace, because Knight of Swords always needs a forward motion and a pace in life. But ultimately, Sages, just let things be new. Look around, breathe, see the crossroads. Remember that crossroads all lead back to the same place, to get philosophical there. And try to not over-focus on people who have turned their back. You get so much windfall. Eight of Wands is one of my favorite cards in the tarot deck. It's upright, it's beautiful, right in the beginning of March. Focus on your windfall, focus on your new things, and let go of what may inevitably have to part this month. Anyway, you all, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this reading. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, that's in the center of your screen right now. You can also check out the playlist to see your 2018 year ahead reading. I think that they're wonderful, and subscribe, like, comment if you haven't had the chance. It makes my day. Much love, and we'll be talking soon. Bye.